What's up, everybody? Thanks for watching today, baby. All right, guys. So if you just picked up your new motorcycle or used motorcycle, you just want to hop on and go right off into the sunset, right? Go have yourself a jolly old time. But I'm going to recommend that you do something first. Obviously, you've got to get your motorcycle home to your garage where hopefully you have a decent set of tools. And that's exactly what I did, is I bought this motorcycle pretty much sight unseen. I bought it from a friend. So I knew that the bike was pretty much brand new. So I was not thinking there was anything I would need to do to it. So when I showed up to get the bike, it was filthy. It sat out in the rain. So as you can tell on a black bike that sits out in the rain, it's going to be filthy. So that was the first thing I seen. I was like, what the hell? My bike, my poor R1 would never sit out in the rain. So I said, screw it. I bought the bike anyway, knowing that it only has 2,000 miles or so. And I started riding it home, and something just did not feel right. It felt like it was, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It felt like it was unsafe to ride. It felt like something was loose or something was off. And I was like, oh, I don't see what it could be. Maybe the tires, they're kind of getting bald, so maybe the tires are just kind of on their way out. Felt really squirmy. So, long story short, I get home and I start looking at the bike. First I look at my first guess was that basically the rear alignment was gonna be off, meaning that it was gonna be further on one side out than the other. But that checked out, that was fine. So then I kind of just maybe chalked it up to it was the tires getting bald. Maybe they're kind of just pulling me all over the place. So I go for a ride again and the bike's just yanking me all over the road. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this bike? It's almost brand new. So I checked the tire pressure. 17 PSI in this front tire, guys. 17. That is literally halfway empty. It's half of what it should be. So what do you know? I fill up the tire pressure and the bike rides like a new bike should, right? Like it should have been. And he had made some comments to me, and he recently wrecked his R1 before he got this bike. He wrecked it twice within like a month, his R1. And he said that he was really nervous and still felt uncomfortable on this bike. And now I know why, because the tires were almost empty and it was really squirrely feeling, and it was just yanking me all over the road. So rule number one, guys, check the damn tire pressure. I mean, for it to be that low, I don't think he checked the tires all here. Another issue I noticed. There is literally no lube on this chain. This chain is dry, and this is a new chain that I know he installed. And another huge issue, look how tight that chain is, guys. There's no slack in that chain. No slack. That's way too tight, way too tight. So as you're hitting bumps and the bike flexes, the chain doesn't have the freedom to move as it needs to, especially with a big guy like myself on here. And he was a little bit, he was kind of a bigger guy too. So this chain is way too tight. You need to check the specs on your specific bike, but I can tell you right now, that chain is way too tight. The rear tire was down to about 25 PSI, so the rear tire was also low. So you need to check these things, go over, if you just bought a brand new bike, go over things like this and make sure that things are all tightened properly. Also a big thing is check your brake and your clutch. Make sure that they're adjusted to where you need them, to where it's gonna be a comfortable ride for you. You can easily adjust these things right here, okay? So adjust your clutch, adjust your brake. Check the tire pressure, guys, that's crucial. And there was something else I was gonna go over with on here. What else? Oh. It gets better, it gets better. So, I know that he changed the oil on this bike. The bike only has 2,300 miles. So obviously you need to change the brake-in oil after like what, 600 miles or so. Look at this, guys. So keep in mind that the bike is on its kickstand, so it's leaned over. Look at that oil level. That's about where it should be when the bike is level, you know, straight up and down level. So there is clearly way too much oil in this bike. I'm gonna hold this with one hand and try to do this. So I'm gonna lift the bike off the kickstand and watch that oil level go way too high. Look at that. Whoop. We're still not even level yet. Okay, so right there we're level, and you can't even see any part of the engine. The oil is way too high. You see the 2 notches there? You're supposed to be about near the top one. So I'm gonna set the bike back down, watch that oil level come back down. Now we're back on the kickstand and you'll see the oil. So I think that he thinks or thought that to check your oil, you need to check it while it's on the kickstand, and that's definitely not correct. So there is way too much oil in this engine, and that's very bad for your motor to have that much freaking oil in here. So yeah, guys, if you just bought a brand new bike, you still need to go over this stuff. Check all the bolts everywhere on the wheels, tires, and brakes. Just go over the bike and make sure everything is in torque, everything is tightened down. There was also this bolt was missing, this Allen wrench was missing when I bought his bike. And when I was riding at home, the whole front fairing was shaking. I was like, what in the hell is wrong with this thing? It was just shaking. I was like, gosh, this thing's a piece of crap. This bike's a junker. And so it all comes down to that one bolt right there that holds this whole fairing piece in place. So other things that I noticed, and this is just me being picky now, but look at that. This is a brand new bike, guys. Look at those gouges out of the wheels. Okay, check this out. There's a dent in the gas tank. That bike is 3 years old, and that bike is in better condition. And that's 3 years of riding old. And it's in better condition than this bike with 2,000 miles. Another thing I noticed. Come on, man, come on. Goofy. It's just sitting here sagging. So as you can tell, I need to go over this bike. He had a zip tie GoPro mount that was kind of janky on here. And then he had a GoPro mount that had a plastic bag under this to, I guess, stop it from gouging this. But just a lot of kind of janky things on this bike that I need to make sure that I go over. So guys, I just say that to say, don't trust somebody else, even if you know them personally. Don't trust their mechanical abilities. A lot of people are not, they're not as OCD as I am. And this is much different than being in a car, right? If you're in a car and something goes wrong, you can just kind of putt over to the side of the road, but this is your ass on a bike, guys. That low PSI could have dragged me off the road, and I could have crashed. If I wasn't ready for it, right? So check everything on your bike, guys. Don't just assume that the previous owner or sometimes they use some cheap ass mechanics to put these bikes together to save money, obviously. If you buy a brand new bike, sometimes they didn't tighten everything exactly how it should be. If you remember on my bike, this damn nut fell off. And that's a serious part, obviously, right? So check everything, make sure everything's good before you go ride, and make sure that you're safe above everything else. Wear the proper safety gear. And that's really all I wanted to mention in this video, guys. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.